Let's create an assignment on my big campus that can be delivered to students and collected from them. Now this tool is big, it has a lot of options. I'm just going to take you through a few of those things to get you started, and then once you get some confidence, you're welcome to explore more and see what all you can do. So the first thing is, you won't see anything on this page until you've created an assignment and assigned it to students. So this is probably, your schoolwork is probably going to be your go-to location to find the schoolwork that you're creating prior to assigning it to students. So I'm going to create a new schoolwork. Notice I've got a lot of different places to do that. I can actually push create schoolwork up here before I even went into schoolwork. I could create schoolwork here. And under kind, we've got a lot of different choices, and very few differences exist on the back end, like what these look like for you when you set it up versus what it looks like for students. So play around. Certainly not going to go wrong with an assignment. The quiz versus assessment, mainly it's just for students to see what that name is. We're going to have to give this a title, and you don't have to give it a description, but you can. And it's not going to let you do anything else at this point until we save and continue. So now we've created this paper, this title for this assignment that we want to give. And now we need to put some questions in. I'm going to add a new question, and notice again we've got some choices on the types of questions that we can ask. So essay is going to give the students a larger box to type in. Multiple choice can actually be graded by My Big Campus itself. Multiple select can be as well, and students can have to choose more than one answer to get full credit. True, false, don't use fill in the blank. They are challenging because My Big Campus will try to grade that, and it's very picky about the words that are typed in there. It'll only take one answer that's correct, and so if there's a misspelling, a slight misspelling, or a singular instead of a plural given, it will have difficulties. You could go back and fix those by hand, but probably best in general to avoid fill in the blank. Questions, file uploads, so they could do something project related, complete that, and then upload the file to you to view and to give them feedback and a grade through My Big Campus. We've got a dual one. And then we're going to look later at setting up question banks. So let's just add an essay question. I've got a box to type in here. Notice one of the things I can do is insert a video. So from the library that we looked at, we could look at a video, insert it here, and ask the students to give us feedback on that as a part of the assessment. Picture, and then you can actually insert video that you have uploaded yourself to your drive. So this is question 1. I can set the scoring of that, so this question is going to be worth 15 points. Notice I can also attach a photo here, a library item. So again, this is another way to access something from the library that's not a video, and drive. So you could upload a file that contained the instructions for what they were supposed to do for this question. All right. So I've added that. There's not a lot of choices when it comes for this essay question, so I'm going to save it. And there we go. And let's add another question. Take a look at a multiple choice. So question with multiple answers. And I want this one to be worth 1 point. Make sure you notice we can scroll down. Again, you could attach items to this. And I can make answer choices, and I need more than 2. And there's my third one, and then I could continue to create another one and so forth. So here's my multiple choice answers. Now, this question was supposed to have a right answer. So let me go back in and select the right answer. And so now when you go back in, it sees that the computer knows the correct answer. So as students submit, they're going to be able to get that graded by the computer, and you can get feedback on it. All right. So let's add a standard. So we will have these available throughout the district for all of the classes that are taught, but they do already have built in here the academic standards for grade levels and for individual classes. And so here's what I could do. That question that I just wrote is going to address this area of the standards. So I'm going to say add it to the standards. But a lot of the questions that I'm going to deal with, I'm going to use that standard frequently. So I can go to add to favorites. Now, if it really doesn't address that whole thing and I want to get down and see that it's addressing an indicator versus the standard, and then you can go down and see in there the indicators, we could assign an individual indicator instead of the category of standards. So now we've got standards assigned to this question. Let me show you one more thing. Let's add standards to this one. We're going to add standards. And this time I want to add the standard that I called my favorite. So notice I didn't have to go through the entire list. So you could go through and put all of the standards for your particular classes in your favorites and shortcut your process of adding those. All right, so I've got 2 questions created. I've got standards linked to those questions. And now, take note of this pop-up window. This is really important. So I had changes and I pushed a button to leave this page before the changes were made. Now if I push this, I'm going to lose everything I already did. So I'm going to choose stay on this page. And now that gives me the chance to go up to the top and save. Okay, so we had added standards by looking at the option. I also can take a look at adding standards to the test as a whole, or to the assessment as a whole here. And then of course, once I get the test created, I need to assign this to students. So first of all, I want to show you what students would see once you assign this to them. Here's what they would get. They have a text box to type in answer. They can choose their answer, and they're going to have a button at the bottom here that says save or submit. And so a lot of times they could save their work. I'm going to show you tons of options on how you collect this work from them and the options that you have there. All right, so I'm going to add a new assignee. So I've got groups set up, and I want to assign this to everybody in this class. That's one option. Or what I'm doing is assigning something that was completed in class, but I want to have students who are absent that day complete it on the computer. So I could go into a group and say it was only 2 of the students from this class who missed that day to whom I assign this. Notice I can set the start and end date, and I don't really understand the slider bars that they have here, but you can use this to set the date. I would highly encourage you for assignments that are to be completed outside of the school hours to go ahead and set the time for the deadline at 11:59 p.m. This clears up what you mean by it's due on Tuesday, because you can say very clearly it is due by 11:59 on Tuesday, and students can understand the exact point that that's due. Notice you could put a password in and give students that password only when they're sitting at a particular point to access the test. You can have them try it more than one time. You can have them allow late submissions. Again, I'd encourage you to turn this on, because if a student is absent on the day that you work on this and the deadline is set for, say, that day that it's due, and a student missed that day, then you may have to reassign this to them to complete it. But if you allow late submissions, then they'll just be able to go back in and complete that as a absence. You can set the time. So I'm going to give students only 20 minutes to complete this. And we can actually use this as a mastery type program. That's a little advanced. We'll get to that later. Now this is important. We can show the results on completion. So if it's the multiple choice test we talked about, we can show students whether they got it right or not, which probably isn't a good plan if you are planning to have students take a test several different periods during the day. So that first period would take the test and see the right answers and then be able to share that later on. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. Oh, sorry, that was results, so they can see what they did. Here's correct answer. Probably want to turn that off. We'll save. And so now these students have received this assessment. We'll take a look next at how you grade those assessments once they are submitted.